Welcome back. We now want to wrap up our news review this morning. We have Senator John Lonyangapuo from West Pokot. We have Barak Muluka, political analyst, Chris Omalo MP Kiminini, and Njogu Barua MP for Gishugu. Now let's look at the politics headlines today. On the Standard, because they've given it prominence and it's on the front page, Uhuru Raila still the man to beat in new opinion poll. President Uhuru Kenyatta has a 15-point lead over closest opposition challenger Raila Odinga in public confidence ratings, less than 6 months to the elections. Now Uhuru polled 66% and his deputy William Ruto 52%, according to an Ipsos survey. Raila, who's tussling with 3 other leaders for a joint presidential candidate ticket, for the opposition coalition, garnered 51%. Now that's on the Standard. A similar story on the Daily Nation, on page 2 of the Daily Nation. Most Kenyans feel president is doing a good job. There's a survey. Despite the drought, the lecturers and doctors strike, a majority of Kenyans approve of the president's performance in the last 3 months. Surveys have shown, the latest survey, still by Ipsos, shows that 57% of citizens feel President Kenyatta is doing a good job, whereas only a third disapprove of his performance. Senator, is this the reason why you decided that you're going to support Uhuru Kenyatta for the election?
It's not the reason why, but we have always been with the President Uhuru Kenyatta. We voted for him in the year 2013. We looked at the agenda he gave us as a presidential candidate, and we were happy because it was pro-development. We have been together since then. There are a bit of challenges that have come in the implementation of this of the agenda he proposed. Like this appetizing one where they were saying they'll give little kids computers and so on and so on, and doing some priorities which we didn't. Some of us are not happy. For example, going to do these 1 million acres in Tana River, Kilifi. Personally, would have loved that that irrigation scheme would have been spread across the counties in Kenya. Give that money appropriately, then because it is food we are securing. But overall, we as KANU have looked at the agenda, and is clearly efficient. With advice and support of many Kenyans, nobody is perfect, that we know, but with the combined ability and support from Kenyans across the board, he can fairly do well. I know there are some people who works with him that have tried to derail him from clearly being able to deliver what he's doing. And then lastly, our colleagues in the opposition, they are now calling it NASA and CORD. It is too late in the day. Last year would have been the year we would have seen a presidential candidate, so that agenda can be visibly seen and sold for people to be able to choose. But when you keep people in the dark, and then you wait during when we are doing now nomination for MCS primaries, nomination for MPs and governors and senators, that's when you're also doing for the president, candidate. It is bad for Kenya. We know Kenya has to have a government. Of course, we should be having a government which we have now, and the opposition is led by the minority. Minority is not really giving us the teeth that we are supposed to be seeing. So I want to ask my brother Chris, who is my neighbor in Trans Nzoia, that you are actually, the sun is setting in the sky. Teletubbies say goodbye. So you better wake up and do something, because we want a credible leadership.
Senator, should we take it now that is official position of the party KANU? Because we've seen members of your party, the Secretary General included, actually at rallies, opposition rallies. We'll come to you, Bwana Malo, but I want to finish up with the Senator first. Is that the official position of the party KANU, that they will be supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta for election?
For your information, all of you, KANU is homed and housed in West Pokot now, after you people mishandled it everywhere in Kenya. We are the only county with a KANU county government. And we are so attached to KANU as people of West Pokot because of the historical connotation that exists. Kenyatta and these 5 others who are detained in Kapenguria. KANU was born during those days, and for that reason our old men really told us we must stick with the Independence Party, and it makes significantly. It is important that we remain in it, because how can you kill the history of Kenya anyway, which is also synonymous with Kenya? You can't kill it. Well, we have had a few challenges with our own colleagues in the same house called Jubilee Coalition. I don't know what it will be called after 2018, after August this year. We have been calling it Jubilee Coalition because it has so many other parties inside it. Some of them have a very shrewd and arrogant behavior where they want to kill other parties so that they remain alone, which doesn't make sense. But for us, we said, although we are in that house, we will deal with one another inside that house. And now they have squeezed themselves into a house called Jubilee Party, different from Jubilee Coalition. But we are in the coalition, and we believe in their manifesto. President
so you've not considered leaving that side of the political divide at any point?
We haven't. And when you see one of us or two associating with any other person, you know, that is now individual. Yeah, but for us, we have agreed like that. You will get our official position very soon.
So it's still not the official party position?
It is
that
official.
Is from, for West Pokot leaders.
Now, get it from me. If anybody wants to go contrary to what I have said, get it from me, the entire Pokot land, from Laikipia to those people who vote and at the border of Kenya and Uganda. All Pokot community will stand with Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay. At least that one is settled now. And I'll give you a chance, Bwana Chris Wamalwa, but now let's go back to the president's approval ratings. Slightly more than 5 months to the election date, he seems to be doing very well. 66%, 57% approval.
It must be seen in a variety of contexts, including what Professor has said here. And I've listened to Professor Lonyangapuo very, very carefully. And as I listen to Professor John Lonyangapuo, I'm reminded of the great Okot Pabitek, who said that the pumpkin of the old homestead shall not be uprooted. The pumpkin of the old homestead shall not be uprooted. Even when people have moved from the old homestead and set up a new homestead with all the modcons, the old homestead must retain its character. It would surprise me to a very major extent if KANU were to transform overnight and started standing for that which is good. KANU represents everything that has gone wrong with this country, from independence to this moment as we sit here. So if KANU starts putting on a reformist garb and starts saying that it's going to support anything different, I would be shocked. That professor here, and he's my friend, he has even been my boss, is telling us that when you look at people carrying money from banks at night in sacks, that is good performance. That when we look at a situation where the country's health sector has been in a state of paralysis for 2 months, getting into the 3rd month, that is good performance. That when we look at drought and famine, and that the president himself has now declared that this is a national disaster, in spite of the fact that he has not taken time out to go to visit those places. In fact, I'm disappointed. I expected my president to go to those places, to get there with some relief, with some doctors, but where would he get the doctors to go with to those places? And to declare the national disaster when he's in West Pokot. That Pokot is one of those places where people are starving, dying because of this drought, and the government has got the responsibility to ensure that those people are well fed and that they do not die of famine. That we are being told that this is good performance, this is a good agenda. When I look at Ipsos Sinovet, I see an offshore effort that has been engaged by a sponsor, and that keeps on floating these figures each time there is a crisis in the country, to tell us that this government is performing very well.
So you do not believe that
it is being done by relics from a past that are completely irrelevant, and in any case, Ipsos Sinovet is owned by powerful people in this government.
Okay. Bwana Chris Wamalwa, Raila Odinga comes 3rd in approval rating according to this survey, after Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto? What does that make you feel?
First of all, before I respond to that, I sympathize Professor Lonyangapuo. I didn't know he's this sycophantic. You know, Professor Lonyangapuo is employed by the
I will respond. Listen, talk.
He's employed by the Moi family. It has to be on record. He's in Kabarak, courtesy of that.
That's a load.
He's not the secretary. Just a minute.
To defend himself.
He's not the Secretary General of KANU. The Secretary General is the official spokesperson of any party. And before any decision is made, we have the governing councils, maybe the National Executive Council. So whatever he's saying, to me, that is his own opinion. When he says that West Pokot is a Jubilee government, the sitting governor defected to Jubilee. He has moved to Jubilee Party. Professor Lonyangapuo, on the floor of the House, he has had issues with the Equalization Fund, which is Pokot people needs it like never before. During the debate of the laws, elections laws on the floor of the House, look at how he voted. Recently, we've heard what Nick Salata has said, who is the Secretary General of the party. He said, KANU, we are there, na tuko hapo. So by him coming here, that's why he was struggling with words. They could not come out, a whole professor. Because he was trying to put things together, they were not matching. He's my friend. So Professor Lonyangapuo has had problems with the Deputy President, William Ruto. And he has been on record. And Deputy President has told them clearly, you saw what happened at the funeral. And he said this, Jubilee is where it is. KANU, as a matter of fact, last time, they were in the Money Coalition. They were not in the Jubilee Coalition. They only came in on a post-election MOU, something they never hunted. Okay? Why he never decided to move the way the Jubilee parties move? They say we want to remain their identity. We know what the KANU is associated with. So for him to come here and say that the opposition ABCD, first and foremost, they've been working very clearly in the Senate with the court coalition. But recently, when Mama Ngina Kenyatta moved to meet the President Moi to request that Gideon should support the re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And that's why I'm bringing the cycle.
Those facts were hearsay because they are not private. It
was in the papers. And that's what we are saying. It was in the papers. And Gideon Moi has come out clearly. He said they are going to support the re-election of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And that is where he comes from to come today and say, this is the thing. That's why I'm saying the issue of psychophancy, because you know where your bread is buttered. And I want him to challenge me.
Okay.
And now coming to the ratings.
On the other issue of ratings.
Coming to the ratings.
We need to wrap up the news review. Yes.
When it comes to the ratings, it is very unfortunate. Any scientific research, a second, a third person comes with that research or that survey, they must reach to the same or similar conclusions.
Are you saying if a second survey was called, it would not come to the same conclusion?
Yeah, absolutely. This country is in problems. The doctors are striking. Kenyans are dying. His own county of West Pokot, drought is all over. Okay? We are seeing lecturers striking. The country is in a mess. How do you get such a rating looking at where the country is? That's why I want to question that sampling framework.
Okay.
Is the sampling framework representative, or it was skewed to determine what results are going to come out with?
Before we come
this
to
is where we have a problem, and I don't agree with this. Whoever did the research is misleading Kenyans.
Yes.
We need to understand the methodology to see whether it was scientific.
I don't expect you to disagree with this research because it favors your president.
I think I'm reasonably objective in my comments. And as much as my friend is sympathizing Professor Lonyangapuo, I did sympathize with him. I think he has a very difficult assignment, and which I think he has been told he has to perform. That anybody by your masters, anybody who actually mentions NASA, you have to be on the defense. It's unfortunate, Chris, my friend, is that you have turned this thing to a personal attack to my friend Lonyangapuo here. Some issues you have raised about him here, I am sure they cannot be substantiated in fact. They are just hearsay and design for, and that's why he said you cannot use this forum power breakfast to do politics for Jubilee, to do politics for NASA or NASA or whatever it is. We need to be here to be able to analyze the headlines and inform Kenyans objectively. That's how you can justify this position and get the respect you have here. On the issue of the ratings, of course, what I can say is that it depends on, first of all, a Jubilee government is being compared, that's Uhuru Kenyatta, is being compared with Raila Amolo Odinga and the other NASA principles.
Raila is not in power.
NASA principles. And of course, people like Chris, who are so sycophantic about Raila, and is even telling me that Raila is not in power. We know that he's not in power, he's never been in power anyway. The thing is, NASA, ODM and CORD have been criticizing Jubilee, but I've never heard them, and Kenyans have not heard them saying this is bad and this is what should happen. So they have not been offering alternatives to a bad situation. So they cannot score highly. So no wonder Uhuru is going to continue scoring higher and higher, because these are guys who are just actually they are called what they are doing here is equal to empty activism. Activism which is not based by any information or by any facts. Look at the Chris Omara here, leading King professor here, with a family. Kabarak University is a national university. I can work there. I don't know. I've not met Moi personally. I cannot be. Am I qualified to teach there? But if in the event I get a job there, I not get because Moi is a principal, is the chancellor. I go there because I'm competent. Look at him talking about Mama Ngina Kenyatta, the Honorable First Lady. When she goes to visit the retired president, that's her business. It is not for you, Chris, to come and tell us. Mama Ngina was discussing this. Did she consult you before she went there? Did she consult you before she went there? So please, wait a minute, Chris.
I need to give the senator.
It was the high time. No, wait a minute. Forget about report.
It was reported and we read in the papers.
We read these papers. But I'm saying it is not your business to anticipate any discussion by the people.
Point made.
And respect others as well.
As we wrap up on his review, I need to give the senator time to respond to allegations made against you directly.
Thank you. I want to bring to the attention of Kenyans, and particularly Chris here, that before 2013, February, polls in West Pokot were as follows. Raila ODM was 42%, TNA Uhuru Kenyatta was 25%, when KANU was not involved. It was URP and so on and so on. That time, the team leader for URP was Ruto, and he's still Ruto up to now. He was fighting KANU tooth and nail. But the moment the presidential candidate, who was then Uhuru Kenyatta and is, reached for me, the team leader for KANU West Pokot County, we sat down as a community and agreed to support him. That's when things now turned for you people. We TNA shot from 25% to 90%, and then you people came to less than 10%. Now, during the same time, Gideon, the senator for Baringo, plus Salat, opted to work with Mudavadi. But as West Pokot County opted to work with Uhuru Kenyatta. But still, all of us were still in KANU. Better get it clearly, because you are in Fort Kenya, but don't imagine and tell me, because you are in Fort Kenya, everybody is going to sing what you are singing. No. So that's how we are in government, and we deal directly with the head of state. The deputy president, we never voted for him. He has never been an issue in West Pokot. Get it clearly from me. And that's why the fellow has been wasting time coming to fight for us, fight us in West Pokot, trying to remove KANU. You can't. So I want to tell you, just because we have issue with the deputy president, and I want to tell you, he will never succeed. He has bought everybody in my county from KANU. I have already replaced them. We have giants who are going. If you are lucky to be elected yourself again, you will meet new faces.
Yes.
All the people you know, I will not be there.
Okay.
So I want to assure Kenyans here.
Yes.
I am the chairman of Kabarak University Council.
Yes.
It's not an employee. And by the way, that is not that is not a position you just acquire.
Yes.
You don't get it. You merit it.
Yeah.
So I want to ask this fellow, who is supposed to be an academician like myself, Chris. it looks like you have been excessively possessed by the spirit of psychophancy to the extent that you want to imagine everybody like that. We are not. So our Secretary General is acting Secretary General.
Yes.
Now,
but
don't ever imagine that because you have seen Salat, who has no MCS in his county, no MPs in his county, he is not even elected himself. Me, I'm speaking as somebody with chain of authority behind me. So, Chris, you better come and talk to me. You may even get 1 or 2 MCF of Fort Kenya than to belittle me.
Okay, gentlemen, our time is up. Our time is up, but I need to give you 30 seconds, and please respect this. 30 seconds, final words. Start with you, Bonanjoku.
Thank you very much. I would like to just to maybe first of all saying that Chris is not possessed by the spirit of psychophancy. He's actually overtaken and overcome. Overtaken by the spirit of psychophancy. And that's not good for this nation. He's occupying a very senior position. To obey the 30-second rule, I would just say that in terms of the happenings in this country, I think this country is in good hands. And the opinion polls given by Ipsos Synovate reflect the correct position on the ground. Jubilee government may not be popular in some areas, but what is reflecting this opinion poll is the average of what is happening elsewhere. So let us not belittle outcomes of research. Thank you.
Yeah, mine is to request His Excellency the President. He cannot bury his head in the sand anymore.
Again,
he is the CEO of this country. He must lead by example and resolve the issue. The doctor strike, the lecturer strike, the droughts that we are having it all over. He's our father. Please, Mr. President, we are requesting you to call all the key stakeholders, sit on the round table and have a solution for this country. We do not have any other country.
Thank you, Bono. Senator, you go first so that Bwana Muluga can actually wrap it up for us.
I join my colleagues in calling upon the national government and the county governments to be more vigilant with the issues that are affecting us today. Drought is not man-made. It is a natural calamity that has come, but we need to pull our efforts together to fight it, and also to say that we need to stick together as a nation. Even whatever you see us discussing here is not that we are enemies. We are a nation, and all of us must stick together from east to west, not to south in this nation.
Asante sana. Coincidentally, there's a headline that has to do with drought, and it says, expect less rain this year. This is from the Meteorological Department, and hunger in many parts of the country is expected to become worse as drought takes a toll on production of staples. And according to the Met Department, seasonal rain will be poorly distributed in March, April, and May. So the situation could get even more worse. Finally, Bwana Barack
that drought is man-made, contrary to what the learned professor is trying to tell the world. That we know about climate change as a human factor. That we know what we have been doing to the forest cover in this country. We know what we have been doing to water towers in this country. And as Barua would say, we cannot come here in the morning, to sit here in the morning and pretend that drought is not man-made. Very finally, I think we are in the grip of crisis. And honorable members of parliament, particularly very learned ones like the ones we have here, must place this country ahead of every other consideration. When they speak here, the world is listening. There are people who follow them who are listening, and they must place this country first. That very, very finally, Mr. President must intervene in this doctor's thing. He must get those guys out, whether they are good people or bad people, he likes them or not, and that we must now have a very properly coordinated effort, which will not include Muraguri and my good friend Cleopa Milo, so that we get a solution and the doctors go back to work.
Thank you so much, Bwana Barack Muluka, political analyst, John Lonyangapuo, Senator West Pokot, Chris Wamalo, MP Kiminini, and Jogo Barua, MP for Gishugu, helping us look at the headlines this morning. Of course, viewers, we have another discussion, and it has a lot to do with the Valentine's. Of course, that's the biggest theme today. It's Valentine's Day, so it's Lovers' Day. It's love is in the air. People are having fun all over. We'll be having quite a number of couples in studio discussing that particular issue. For me, it's good morning.